Good evening and thank you for joining us. I'm Alex Flood. The student union at Lakehead University says the decision to not offer on-campus voting in the upcoming federal election risks lowering youth voter turnout. Elections Canada has announced it won't run its Vote on Campus program, which saw over 110,000 votes cast on college and university campuses across the country in 2019. The agency blamed a short timeline and the pandemic for the decision. Lakehead Student Union President Lahama Naeem says while they're sympathetic to those issues, she feels the result will be less representation for youth.
I think it is a possibility, especially for students that are on residence and living away from home. A lot of those students are first years that are new to Thunder Bay and they might not know where to go or might be uncomfortable leaving campus.
I think that it's honestly not a very good decision in terms of whether or not you want young people to vote. I feel like it's the most important for people my age to be able to vote because it's our future.
Students still have multiple ways to vote, according to Elections Canada. Those include voting at other polling stations on advanced voting days or Election Day, voting at an Elections Canada office before September 14th, or applying to vote by mail. Naeem says the student union will be working hard to educate students on those options and encourage them to vote. And officials with the Lakehead Region Conservation Authority were both confused and frustrated this past week after a variety of shrubs planted at Mission Island Marsh by staff and volunteers went missing only a few days later. The LRCA planted dozens of the native species on the shores of Lake Superior. Milkweed, little bluestem, Beb's sedge, and sweetgale were among the types of plant meant to mitigate shoreline erosion. Spokesperson Ryan Mackett says it was obvious that whoever dug up the plants knew what they were doing, suggesting that since the plants were pollinators, they may be hard to find at greenhouses, but that certainly doesn't excuse the theft.
Conservation areas are protected lands, and it is explicitly prohibited to remove vegetation of any kind from a conservation area under the Conservation Authorities Act, and that's enforceable by provincial offences officers. So when you go into a conservation area at any time, anywhere, you're not allowed to take anything.
Mackett adds the thefts could carry fines for the vandals involved. And the pandemic may be continuing to curtail many events and activities, but municipalities across the Northwest continue to push forward by adapting themselves to better serve residents. One such community is Terrace Bay, who at its regular meeting of council last month took a look at blueprints that could lead to a major makeover of the town offices. Adam Riley explains.
Terrace Bay's municipal offices could look a little different to residents in the future. At its meeting last month, Council was shown blueprints of the modifications, which would help the offices adapt to overcome the vulnerabilities exposed by the COVID-19 pandemic by providing more spacing for employees to work in an office setting and expand the size of council chambers. Mayor Jody Davis says the town received a grant to have the plans drawn up, noting, however, not everything is set in stone just yet.
Doesn't mean we will proceed with the renovations of the office. They're going to do some detailed engineering now, and we'll see what, as a part of that grant, and we'll see what the cost to do that renovation would take. If we decided we wanted to move ahead with that and that cost, we'd probably be moving for one of the grant programs with the federal and provincial government.
Davis says he is unsure of when the advanced plans and costs would be given to council to put into budgets and funding proposals, but would only guess at a timeline of several months. Council also discussed the installation of signs in the town beach area, this time on the water, following a letter of concern from a local boaters association. Davis says parts of the entrance to the Aguasan Basin are tricky to navigate, plus there are some concerns over speeding.
We do have a lot more kayakers and the odd person actually swimming in the river, and so we want to make that area safe for boaters and the public that's using the water. So we'll be looking at what we need to do and what would be proper.
Council was also briefed on the damages at the water treatment plant following a lightning strike this summer. Power was knocked out and the resulting surge caused damage to the switch that would have had the plant switch over to emergency power. Davis is praising repair crews for their quick response to the incident.
Hydro One did a good job getting to the facility quickly and taking care of their repairs, and we had an outfit from Thunder Bay come down, and they found that the transfer switch was blown, and we We got the generator up and running shortly thereafter, and the water treatment plant up and running within 12 hours. So that was really good, and we had a boil water advisory for 3 days.
A temporary measure of having a staff member at the plant during a lightning storm was implemented until the power switch was replaced. Adam Riley, TBT News.
The later stages of summer is bearing witness to rising COVID-19 case counts, hospitals bulging with patients, and a sharp slowdown in jobs among some other pretty dark predictions. And with Labor Day weekend in full swing, the U.S. could be on the precipice of a completely out-of-control situation. Trevor Alt reports.
This morning, health officials fearing Labor Day weekend could further fan the flames of the pandemic. Doctors in Oregon warning if you get sick or injured, they may not have a hospital bed available for you.
The emergency department and the ICU is under incredible strain right now.
The CDC now warning people if you're not fully vaccinated this weekend, you should not travel. And that recommendation extends to children.
The rate of hospitalization for children was nearly 4 times higher in states with the lowest overall vaccination coverage when compared to states with high overall vaccination coverage.
At Wolfson's Children's Hospital in Jacksonville, Florida, pediatric COVID patients have nearly doubled since August 1st. This week, 2 children dying in a single 24-hour span, doctors voicing their frustration.
How many children dying is too many? Social distancing, disinfection, mask wearing, that's a small price to pay.
And with just weeks until the nation is supposed to begin the rollout of booster shots September 20th, the New York Times reports health officials are advising the White House to scale back that plan for now because they need more time to collect and review necessary data. Moderna, Pfizer, and Johnson & Johnson all say they've submitted their booster data for evaluation from the FDA, though the agency's independent advisory board isn't set to take up the booster issue until September 17th. And at least one board member, Dr. Paul Offit, doesn't think boosters are needed right now.
All the data shows that if you've gotten 2 doses, you are protected against serious illness. And I think people need to be reassured about that.
And before we've even made it out of this pandemic, the White House has now outlined a $65 billion plan to prepare for any potential future pandemics based on the lessons we've learned from COVID-19. The White House called this an economic and moral imperative. Trevor Alt, ABC News, New York.
In the town of Emo, the sounds of a normal summer roar from kilometers away. Stock car racing at the Emo Speedway is a fixture for the entire district. After last year's race season was decimated by the pandemic, drivers are thrilled to see the grandstands filled once again with attendance numbers higher than they've been in years. Corey Nordstrom has the story.
The sound of roaring engines signal that things are getting back to normal in the town of Emo.
It's been one of our best seasons after we were allowed fans. Usually we get maybe 200. We've been getting over 4.
The Borderland Racing Association hosts as many as 62 cars spanning 3 classes, with more racers this summer due to the closed American border.
This year we've had more than we usually do because we have some that usually race in the States, but they can't, so now they're coming here. So, yeah.
Does that mean it's more competitive then?
Oh, yeah, exactly. We got Thunder Bay cars, we got Winnipeg cars, and we got one from the Falls.
The Borderland Racing Association held just 5 races last summer, but fans could not attend. This year, they're allowed to open at 75% capacity, and as you can see, it's pretty easy filling the seats at the Emo Speedway.
So I like coming out here. I just like overall watching the races. It's a pretty fun time.
I really like the races.
I was cooped up in the house. Oh, this is really exciting for me to come out and watch the races again.
Last year, it just felt like there was nothing to do.
I missed it last year because I'm not really used to that. It's like something is missing from that year.
Drivers like Brody Strand have spent summer weekends at the track for most of their lives. Following the season that last year was, a return to near normal is a welcome occurrence.
It's kind of weird. You're thinking you should be racing and you're not even working on the car. That's what you do all summer long. Every weekend you're in the garage or you're at the track, so not having it, you don't really know what to do with yourself.
It was hard last year. We didn't see a lot of people, and family is a huge part of our racing. we'll be here until 2 o'clock in the morning just chatting afterwards, and we weren't able to do that last year.
You know, you got the crowd back, you got people up there. It's a completely different atmosphere. It really puts you in a spot of just like, you really want to be here.
In a regular year, the Racing Association hosts 20 races from May to August. This year, their 12th and final show will take place Labor Day weekend. Corey Nordstrom, TVT News.
The Canadian Sailing Championships return to Thunder Bay this Labor Day weekend. The event was scheduled to take place in 2020, but was canceled due to COVID-19. The last time Thunder Bay hosted this world qualifying event was back in 2014. This event usually draws participants from across Canada and the United States. However, because of uncertain travel and border restrictions, Vice Commodore of the Temple Reed Sailing Club, Lori Walsh, predicted less participants than usual. The event will continue all day Sunday, with the top 2 Canadian teams automatically advancing to the Lightning Class World Championships, which are being held in North Carolina in May of 2022.